What I'm showing you today is how to be able to give a beautiful transformation to your countertops. Whether your countertops are granite, whether your countertops are Formica, or maybe they're that cast finish that was used on bathroom vanities years ago, you can take advantage of the process that I'm going to be showing you today and transform it. Because it's really hard, if you don't like your countertops in your kitchen, it's really hard to get excited about painting them. Would y'all agree? Like, why would you get excited about transforming them, painting them, or doing something to them if you're still dealing with the countertops that is just going to totally ruin the whole effect of the room? So I wanted to show you, look at the combo of these two. This is just painted on wood as far as the finish that I had done that I'm going to walk you through. You could totally do a gorgeous gray finish. I love this in the light gray. I love doing cabinets with lighter counters like this that are kind of in a warmer tone. I love doing it with this gray. But then I even want to show you how you can create really beautiful finishes if you've got cabinets and you're wanting to be able to have a lighter countertop like this. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Now, if it's something that you've been wanting to do, and it can be very, very costly to replace them, but doing it this way, it is so much less expensive. And if we talk about enjoying the bragging rights, it's fantastic. So, all right, hey Sharon. So I want to show you this. This is an iStock photo. This is of actual marble. What I want you to notice this is I want you to notice that there is a 45-degree angle, which the way this is going. I want you to look at, you've got a large vein here. Look at that. See the weight of it? You've got, but these fissures that are going through. So we think about the sedimentation of marble and how it has been created over thousands and thousands of years, and how they go into these quarries and they cut the marble out. We've got to always be thinking about the direction. Not only the execution of the marble and what we're going to be creating, but also we've got to look at the direction and the look of the marble. And what's a better way to do that than to study actual marble? All I did was Google Carrara marble, and in iStock photos, this came up. So it allowed me to be able to have that so I can show you this is what you want your real marble to look like. Now, I'm going to start to take you through the process. So I'm going to turn this down. And as you pop on here, say, hey, tell me where you're tuning in from. And I always like to know where you're from and kind of what the weather is, where you are. And also, the code for today is Marble20. So all you have to do is take advantage of it, and you're going to get 20% off on all the products that I'm showing you how to do. But if you have a friend that, can it be used on cement? Yes, it can. It can be used on cement, it can be used on resin material, it can be used on the top of a piece of furniture that you want to be able to have this look on. It can be used on Formica, it can be used on ceramic tile. So part of the reason why I'm wanting you to go through this and teach you, because this is truly transformative, and it keeps a lot of people back from redoing their bathroom cabinets or their kitchen cabinets, or maybe even the top of a piece of furniture. So I'm going to turn this down, continue to pop on here and say, hey, here we go, because I want to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. If I could get just a laptop or something so I could see, that would be awesome. Would that be good? All right, so depending on what you're dealing with, as far as your countertop, your vanity, your maybe a top to a piece of furniture, maybe it's damaged, maybe it's a situation to where you're thinking, I'll rip it out, I've got to get rid of it, or if I could do this and say that, that would be awesome. So basically what we're going to do, it's very important that you're going to start with the one-step paint. I am working in Bauhaus Buff. The Bauhaus Buff is a beautiful, light, kind of white, creamy color that neutralizes, and it allows you to be able to create a beautiful Carrara marble finish. So we don't want to work with Miracle Paint. The Miracle Paint has a satin finish. You wouldn't want to do this with Luxe Lacquer, and you would not want to do this with the Milk Paint. The one-step paint is perfect for this because it allows you to be able to have a very matte finish that we're going to be able to get some gorgeous veining and things on our marble. So I've got my Bauhaus Buff lined up in my roller. Now, the one step is, it's one step, not one coat. So I want you to put on 2 thin coats. This isn't about trying to get full coverage. This is just about being able to get an application. So one thing that you're going to notice as you're putting it on, it will look kind of sheer. I can see through it just a little bit. That doesn't bother me. All I want to do is make sure as I come back a little lighter with my roller is that I don't have the lines where that went down. So I want to be able to get a nice coat like this, really good even coverage, but I am not concerned about being able to see through it because I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a second coat. All right, so now I'm going to pass this off to my helpers. And I've got one that's already finished. So now this one has 2 coats on it. Now what you're going to notice when you have rolled this on, you could roll the one step on granite, you can roll it on Formica, you can roll it onto an existing wood that has maybe a varnish on top of it. You do want to come back with some 220 sandpaper because what I need to make sure of is that we have a very smooth surface. So I'm just going to come back very, very lightly, and I'm wanting to just make sure that I just knock down where that roller was because I want a really beautiful slick surface. So I'm going to go in and dust that off. So now I'm going to turn this this way because it's just going to be easier for me to work on it. So now when you are working on this, of course, this isn't going to be something you can move around. You're going to be working on your kitchen countertops, your Formica, or maybe in your bathroom. But this is what it's going to look like. Now I will say, as a rule, if I put a coat on, I'll allow it to dry about an hour and a half, and then I can put the second coat on. This is a water-based paint. So you're going to clean it with soap and water. And the other thing you're going to notice, it has a very matte finish. Now, the longer this cures, the longer it dries, the better the bond. And so here comes the next step, and this is where a lot of people mess up on creating this finish. All right, so now, before I get started on this, I want to show you something. I've got a piece of paper, and I've got some charcoal. And I want to just show you as far as being able to kind of lay out and study your veining. This is an important, this is kind of an important study. You know, you think about masters and artists and how they would create studies that were small first before they executed it on something large. I always say do samples first. I always want you to have a real clear idea of what it is that you're wanting before you get started on your big project. So what did we talk about a while ago when I was showing you the marble? How it goes from the upper left-hand corner down to the lower right. It's at a 45-degree angle. So what we don't want to do when we start going in to do our marbleizing is that we don't want to do it in the center. Here's the other thing. I've got 2 pieces of paper because I want to do, the first one I want to show you what not to do. This is what some people will do when they start veining. They do these lines. They do these curves. They'll come around like this. It's like, this is like, don't do this. We don't want them snaky. We don't want it to look like it's wavy. It's going to be very important that you're holding it and you're doing it in such a way that it's a straighter process. The other thing is too, your veins, when I'm laying this down, I'm going to show you how to do this with a brush in just a minute. They're intersecting and they're following alongside one another like this. Sometimes I may have a 45-degree angle up here and I come down and it's intersecting. Are you with me? You don't want everything to follow back in here. Only about 10% of your veins are going to go the opposite direction. That's a really important thing to remember when you're trying to create a composition with your veining. All right, so now I would really suggest using, you could use a pencil if you want to do this. I'm using in pastel because it was just a color that I had. But this is a really good idea to be able to kind of lay out. You can overdo veining very quickly. And so your color choice is very important. That's why I'm really suggesting with you, if you want to do a Carrara marble, start with Bauhaus Buff as your base. Now, after we've painted that, it's time to do our veining. So now I'm going to come back. I've got my Formica that's been painted with Bauhaus Buff, 2 coats, and lightly sanded. And now I'm going to make up a glaze. I'm going to use a combination of a beautiful gray that is a gray that you're going to see on Carrera most of the time. This is a good man is hard to find. You see the gray right here. Now this is a paint that a color I use quite often. So we're going to use 1 part a good man is hard to find 1 step, 1 part water, and 1 part glazed over. So we're going to create a glaze, but here's a difference. In my inner circle, how I teach people a lot of times how to make a glaze, this one's going to be considerably thinner because I'm needing to create a very fluid base on which to be able to do my veining. So I want to mix this up because I want you to see. So I'm going to take my good man is hard to find 1 step. Just going to put that in here. Guys, as you pop on here, please tell me hello, where you're tuning in from. And thank you for working with me as far as being able to go through our technical difficulties. And we're on Facebook, but we have a code today. It's called Marble20, and all you have to do to take advantage of it is to type it in when you check out, and you'll get 20% off on any of the products that I'm showing you today. Marble20, all lowercase. All right, so now I'm going to mix in 1 part glazed over that I just showed you, and then 2 parts water. 1 part good man is hard to find 1 step, 1 part glazed over, and 2 parts water. That's going to make a really nice thin veining solution. All right, and I love this color with the Bauhaus Buff. It's perfection. All right, so now I had some where I worked with it yesterday, and I've got it in my little jar. Now here's something that a lot of people don't do, and this is very, very important when you start out. Very important. You've got to wet your ground. You do not want to come directly on top of your paint, your 1 step, unless you have a wet ground. And the other thing is, it's part of the reason why I never do my marbles with the Miracle Paint or with a Luxe Lacquer. I always do them in the 1 step because I like that I can control the ground more. I like how I can wet it and it becomes more fluid. So let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so now I've just got a mister and I'm going to mist it. I'm going to mist it all over my surface. What I would suggest when you're working on your kitchen countertops is to be able to work on it a section at a time. You can have a seam that we can come in and create a seam for later that you can tape it off so you've kind of got control over it and it looks like they've just laid the marble in sections. All right, so now I'm going to put some gloves on. Just strictly because I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to spread this water out over the surface. Guys, as you pop on here, please tell me hello and where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to share this video, tag some good friends. That way your name will go in for a drawing and we're going to give a giveaway and we'll announce the winner on Monday afternoon. So all you have to do is share the video. All right, so now what do we do? Here's our glaze. Now I've got 2 brushes. I've got our artist brush that we sell on Amy Hart at Home. And then I've got a smaller little artist brush that's just teeny tiny that I'm going to do with 2 different veining techniques. Now, the first thing we need to do, we're not going to do any veining on this first wash. This is to set up direction. It's to set up kind of the sedimentation that would have taken place and also the 45-degree angle direction. Now, something else that I want you to be sure and have. Look at the difference between these paper towels. This one has a texture to it. I think it's Bounty. This one is Viva. There's no texture, there's no pattern. You've got to work with Viva paper towels. You cannot work with the texture. But this is great to be able to spread this out and make sure that you've got some beautiful folds in your marble. You're going to see what I'm going to talk about. All right, so I'm talking so much, I need to spray this just a little bit more. I'm going to spread this out. If your water gets kind of moist, just come back, spray it. You can do it with a sponge brush if you don't have a sprayer, but I just like having a sprayer. It makes it go that much easier. All right, so now I'm going to start with my, I'll put just a little bit of water in here because I made this yesterday. This is 1 part glazed over, 1 part A Good Man Is Hard to Find 1 step, and 2 parts water. So at a 45-degree angle, here's the other thing I want you to notice. I'm going to hold my hand on top of it. I'm not going to be under like I'm holding a pencil. I'm on top of it like this. Holding this is very important to be able to get the great direction that you want. So I'm not going to start in the middle. I don't want to dissect it in half. So I'm going to start off to the end like this. Now watch what I'm doing. I'm not doing those snake things. I'm rolling my brush. I'm rolling it, and I'm going to come off to the side like this. Now I'm going to come up here in another position, and I'm going to roll into this, come back out. See how almost straight it is? Now, I'm going to start going back. I'm going to take a chip brush, and I'm going to start to pounce this a little bit. What I want you to do is we've got to soften this and gradate it. So I'm going to, in these areas here, I'm going to start to pull those veins on either side into the center, and I'm going to work fairly quickly. I'm just going to do 1 pass going down through here. Now I'm going to come back with my Viva paper towels, and I'm going to start to feather this out like this. One thing you want to do when you're creating a faux marble, you can literally, if you'll carry this process and do it correctly, you won't be able to tell that it was painted. But it's all about it being very fluid. It's about it being very soft, about it being very, very subtle. The problem that a lot of people make is the fact, it's so funny on the screen, it looks a lot darker and it's a lot softer here in real life. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is that it's very fluid. See how pretty now this Good Man Is Hard to Find, this color is with the Bauhaus buff base. All right, so now let's go on and lay in another color. It's still pretty dry. I need to watch. If the water has evaporated off, I'm just going to come and just hit a little bit. But part of the success of being able to get this to where it's really soft and very fluid looking is about working on a wet surface. That's the only way you're going to get it. Because otherwise, if I go in to start marbling in or laying in this first effect, it's just going to stop and suck into my paint. See, by it being wet, look how much more fluid it is. So look how I'm pulling my brush, I'm coming down. Again, I'm holding it over like this, and I'm going to come down and kind of fall into that lower right-hand corner. I'll pick up my brush. Watch that. Do you see how I'm lifting it up? See how I'm getting that tip? That allows me to be able to control the thickness of my vein. Now, I will tell you right now, what I'm not really doing, I'm laying my groundwork down for my veining. I am not actually veining. All right, so now I'm going to start to blend this with my Viva paper towel. Look how I'm going on top of it. I'm pulling this in to where now I don't have where all of this glaze, how that's covering that up, it's all soft. I'm pulling this out on this side into that wet ground, and then I'll come back if those darker areas are just too dark. I'm just softening them. So I'm coming back, I'm pulling this away and into it, but very, very soft. I'm not dragging it. You don't see the size of the tool that I'm using. All right. So the main thing is I wanted you to be able to see how to do this. I've got one already finished, so that way you don't have to stay on here. Can you see that? What we've just done. All right, so I'm going to hand that off. So now, here's what's something interesting that I want you to be able to see. If you don't want to add veins, you don't have to. You can stay like this and come back and do an overglaze, and it can be finished like this. This can be very authentic looking, because a lot of times when I have gone and looked at marble, a lot of them don't have major veining systems in them. And this can be very, very pretty and very, very subtle. I'm going to make sure that do I need to come this way? I'm trying to see which way I need to go for y'all to be able to see this. All right, so, yes, that's much better. All right, so now I'm gonna come back with my same glaze that I mixed up. And now I'm gonna start looking for something. Let's look at the pattern that we created. We've got something going from upper left to lower right. We've got our 45-degree angle. But look how we've got this a little darker here. See the shape in here? That's what now is going to become our veining. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to lay down my brush. Uh-oh, forgot. I need to, after this is dried, I can come back in and I can add my water. Always trying to work on kind of a very fluid surface. Once the glaze dries that you did after about an hour, you're good to go. You can keep working. It's not going to come off. All right, so now I'm going to take this little area in here and I'm going to lay down my brush. Look how I'm holding it. My hand is over. It's very light. It's very, very light. I'm going to come back with my chip brush and I'm going to kind of pounce this out like this. These veins are very, very, very subtle. That's the key to really making this look very authentic. I'm setting that back. All right, now I'm going to come back with my tiny little artist brush. And I'm going to, again, I'm holding it over, not like a pencil. It's very important to kind of hold it over like this. And I'm gonna come in. I'm just putting it between my thumb and my middle finger. It's a very, very light touch. I'm gonna come out, come back in, go back out. And I can have it kind of teeter off just a little bit to the side. I'm going to come back with my Viva paper towel and I'm going to just tap on this. Again, it's about setting it back and making it very subtle. All right, so now I want to show you what I've got over here that's finished. So now look how subtle the veining is. I had this finished before. It's very, very subtle. I am very pleased with how it looks. I'm glad that nothing really stands out to me. It doesn't really pull my eye out as far as seeing it. I'm going to need that back in just a minute. But now I'm going to do a glaze. I'm going to create another glaze and I'm going to use my original paint, Bauhaus Buff. So I'm going to mix up 1 part water, glazed over, and could I have that Bauhaus? Awesome. And Bauhaus Buff. So it's 1 part water, 1 part Bauhaus Buff, and 1 part glazed over. I'm going to put just a little bit more glazed over in here. Guys, as you pop on here, please tell me hello, where you're tuning in from, and I will go back on Facebook and I'll answer your questions as soon as we're finished with the live. So now, one thing that people may not know, the glazed over actually has a varnish in it. It has a varnish in it that it allows you to be able to have your fluidity to be able to create beautiful finishes like this, but also it helps kind of seal it. So now I'm going to come back. Could I get a chip brush? Let me see. Or again, it's only going to take about an hour and a half because this is water-based for this is to come to complete drying. And I'm going to come back on top of it like this over the entire piece. This is another important element that a lot of people leave out. they forget to sandwich in a glaze. This is all about setting this back, making it look more authentic. And the only way to really do that is to be able to create glazes, layering. It sets it back. It allows you to be able to have it to where it's like, if a vein was bothering you, you can kind of cover it up with a glaze like this. The other thing is too, when you lay your glaze on top of it, allow it to set just a minute. Now, I don't want it to be a situation to where you come directly on top of it and you take all of it off. It's got to set just a minute. So after I've applied it, you see I've got brush marks in here. That doesn't bother me at all. What I do want it to do is I want it to come to a little bit of a tack. So as a rule, I'll say, let this set for maybe, a minute. If you can let it set a minute while you're working on it, that way you're not going to be taking off all the glaze. The other thing, when I'm doing this, I usually don't work with rags. I like working with these Viva paper towels because I will fold it up on this particular glaze, and I'm going to make it just a little bit thicker, and I'm going to fold it like this. So I've got a pad that I can come back and start to blend this. Now I think I'm ready. So let's go over this again, what we did. We base coated with Bauhaus Buff, one step. We 2 thin coats. Then we came back, we wet our surface, and then we add in our veining to where we create this brush effect, but no actual veins. Then we came back after that dried and we laid in very tiny veins following the lines in which we created with that first pass. Now after that's dried, we're coming back and we're just laying over a Bauhaus Buff glaze again. So we're only working with 2 paints, and it's going to really give you a gorgeous look. So now I'm going to be coming in with my pad like this and laying this back. What's the other thing that you notice? I'm actually taking it off in the same direction that I applied the glaze, in a 45-degree angle. If there's some areas that are a little bit brighter to me that I want to be able to kind of set back, I'll put a little bit more glaze over that. One thing that you're going to notice when you're doing this and trying to take this off, you're going to get a few little bubbles. And what's happening, that's basically from the paper towel. So I'll just turn it as it's gotten wet. I'm going to turn it and make sure that I come back and just kind of hit it barely on the top. There's not a lot of pressure that I'm putting there. I'm doing just a little bit of pressure like this to get rid of those bubbles. All right, so now what I'm going to do, if I can have the one back that's got the brush and no veining, I want to show them how to be able to seal this. Was there one from yesterday that I had done? It had some veining on it. Let me see. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to set this to the side just a little bit, and this is going to dry. I tell you what, can you take this back there and dry it with a hairdryer for me real quick? And then that way I can go in and show them how to seal it. All right, so now in order to really make, let me show you the one that I had done. This is the countertop idea and the finish that I had done. Just wanting to show you how pretty it is working with either a gray, there's so many different colors that you can do this in because this will go with almost anything. I absolutely love it, but the subtlety of it is what I am wanting you to realize. But combining that with a really pretty gray cabinet, even more of a cream cabinet or a pale blue, or we've got so many gorgeous colors in our one step as well as our one step as well as our milk paint, that you'll be able to have a brand new kitchen. But look at the gloss that I've got here. It's crazy. It's just like a marble. One way to be able to get this, it's great for durability, but it's also great for you to be able to have where it looks like the real deal. And I think that is one of the things that's very important to kind of finishing it off. And we're going to do that with our resin. So if you've not worked with the resin before, it's very easy to create kind of a pour with the resin. So I've made a little tray, but I'm going to put my Formica in. And I'm going to go in and mix this up. It's very important that you do equal parts. So I'm going to go on. I'm not going to need a whole lot. We have these little silicone jars that you can put them in, but you're going to be working with a part A and a part B. The part A is the actual resin. The B is the hardener. So I'm going to put them in separate containers. And it's very, very important. There's two steps that I need to make sure that you understand. One, that you've got to have the exact amount of hardener to the exact amount of the resin itself, because they blend together to create the perfect hardening to where it will add to the durability of your finish. So now these are fine. They're not going to harden separate like this. I've got to blend them together. So I've got my cup here. I want to make sure that I'm good to go. So I'm going to go on, and I usually put my part A in first. It's a little bit thicker. We got a stir stick. Let's see. I'll take a little spoon here. I want to get all this out of here because I've got to make sure that I've got to have equal parts. And again, you could get this project done in a day's time, because the one step is going to dry very, very quickly. But when you apply the acrylic resin on the top, that's what you're going to want to cure for several days. All right, so now here's the other tip. It's got to be equal parts. But also, you want to make sure that you stir this for about 3 minutes. Now, I like the idea of getting all of my countertop done. You can paint it in sections. You can do your lines to where it looks like marble that's been inlaid. But then when you come time to seal it, let's do the whole thing. So now I've got my countertop that Jean got for me. I'm going to set this here to be able to show you. Now, the other great thing about the acrylic resin when you're putting this over your newly painted marble is the fact that it's beautiful at self-leveling. So you don't have to get this perfect. What I like to do is usually a combination of pouring and brushing. So you will see that I have a little tray here. When you're working on your countertops, you need to make a little valley. You'll take some cardboard and tape it so where that way what you have any runoff will be caught kind of in a little gully with cardboard on the edge of your countertops. So I'm just going to come back and I'm going to pour this over. Like this. This is an epoxy resin that's going to allow you a beautiful, beautiful finish that is going to level out. Now I'm going to take a synthetic brush. I like using a tapered brush on this, and I'm just going to spread it out. You're not going to pour the whole thing on. It's just about pouring a little bit of it so that way you're able to get it all there. The other thing that you're going to notice sometimes is that you'll have bubbles. Sometimes that can be through brushing it. You could use a roller for this if you wanted to as well. I just want to make sure that I have all my coverage, that it's nice and even. And then what's going to happen, it's going to start to level itself out. And as it does, I want to make sure that I come back with either a heat gun or a hair dryer and it's basically going to pop these little bubbles out. So let me show you what I'm talking about. You want to make sure that you come up high enough. You want to make sure that you get about 6 inches up. And I can come down, and did you see those? They just pop. You might not be able to see it on camera. Those little bubbles just pop. This is a very important process that you need to go through because you don't want to have little bubbles in it. You know what? Worst case scenario, if you do, you can come back, lightly sand it, and do another pour on top of it. But I want to make sure that you get this first pour beautiful. Look at that. You're going to have a gorgeous new kitchen countertop for a fraction of the cost of what the marble would run. Let's say not even what the taxes would run to be able to have on your marble. So, love it. I love the direction. I love the gradation. I love the colors. I love how soft it is. And I love the fact that if I hate my countertop or my vanity or my kitchen countertop, it's going to totally change. So, what do y'all think? I don't know if, can I see your comments? Now, I let this dry overnight, and when I came in this morning into the studio, I was like, I love this. Like, being able to look at it and think about color combinations and what you could do. Now, some people might say, what if I don't want to be able to do a white Carrara marble? What if I want to be able to have another color? You totally can, but just do your sample boards. That's what I'm saying. You can play with it. Now, Jessica, I love this. I love that. I'm just like you, girl. I'm doing this. But if you want, yes, Carolyn, so here's the deal. If you want it to look more honed, are you with me? You can sand this. You've got the durability of it. You could totally make that into tiles, Linda. Love that idea. You can sand this and you can come back and you can wax it. So you can hone it down. You want to make sure that you might want to work with an orbital sander, a very, very fine sandpaper, but you can sand it and then come back and wax it. I like the gloss. I think it's pretty fab because my marble countertops have been really high gloss. Look at that. I just love the sheen of it. I think it's fabulous. So take advantage of the Marble 20, the code for today. You can get your resins, you can get your Bauhaus Buff, your Good Man, and your Glazed Over, all 20% off today. And share this video with a friend that you know would really benefit. Hopefully they've talked about that they hate their vanity or they hate their kitchen countertops. And you can say, girl, do this. I'll help you. Because it'll be your way of being able to show them how much you care and then offer your services. So I'll have to go back with the resin not set correctly if you do a backsplash. What you can do is you can work on it in sections as far as that backsplash or that lip. You know, you can also cut those off. And that way you can have your tile come down on top of it. I think it would be really pretty. You could cut off that top of the Formica. Do this on the counter because marble normally doesn't run that way. You can cut that off and then have your tile come down to the countertop and then have it. So Jean's showing me as far as, right, this is one of my decorative tiles, but cut the back off and then have your tile come down directly on top of it. I need a white one. And then that way you've got your cabinets. So I love it. It's going to be beautiful. I promise. This is one of the easiest transformations that can make a real difference in the value of your kitchen, your bathroom, or you could use this process even on the top of a piece of furniture. I hope y'all have a great day, a great Friday, a great weekend, and just know how much we appreciate you and all of our amazing customers and our tribe. This is our community. Where a lot of us are women just from different mothers. We all have the same love of crafting a beautiful life. Have a great day, everybody. Mwah. Bye.